of it and bother Arindam with as many questions as you'd like to. That's it. Over to you. Take it from here.
Thanks a lot for that introduction, Joanna. I hope everyone can hear me quite clearly. Again, it's fantastic to be here. I'm really excited that all of you are here to actually learn, and there's no such thing as learn. I mean, there's nothing quite like learning, is there? It's always great to kind of help expand our minds and really add to the knowledge that we already have, and therefore use it in a real life situation, right? I mean, and that's why I'm really glad to be here with all of you here today. Yeah. Now, before we start off, so I've got two rules really. Yeah. Three actually. One of which Joanna's already mentioned. I want everybody to ask me a lot of questions. Yeah, I mean this session is nothing without you guys actually contributing to the conversation. And what I'm really looking forward to is having a conversation with all of you, so that we can actually learn together. Yeah, learning is never a one-way street. My second rule, and I hope you're able to oblige me, is that everybody needs to have their cameras on. I cannot be looking at only a screen. I want to look at faces on a screen. I'm going to wait on this.
I think we should all switch it on now. Right? There we go.
There we go. Dario's already done it. He's taken the first step. I see Yasmin has. Come on, everyone. You have to have your cameras on. Tina, hello. And we've got a little friend there as well who wants to learn about personas. I'm excited about that. Excellent. Okay, I'm seeing, who else am I seeing on the screen? Lorraine, Sumaya. Yeah, I'm going to give it a few more seconds. Come on, cameras on. Yeah, I can see a lot of people becoming quite shy. Okay. Yeah. Lorraine, perfect. Excellent. Bravo. Who else? I can see a whole lot of other people. You have to switch on your cameras. Come on. See, you have to do it, yeah? I'm so not starting without everybody switching on their cameras. You can't be shy and get away with this. I'm going to call you out. Okay. Okay, Shakun, excellent. Okay, perfect. See, I mean, there has to be a trade-off. If you don't switch on your cameras, I'm going to put, so whoever hasn't, I'm really going to put you guys on the spot, and you'll have to answer a whole lot of questions from me. So you make your choice now. Yeah, this is the time for you to make your choice. I'll give you some time while I start to actually think about that little one. I'm going to come after you. Yeah. But anyway, I'm so glad all of you are here. It's a massive privilege to be speaking to all of you, and thank you for giving me the chance to actually, speak to you all about buyer personas. Right now, before I start, the other thing that I want to tell you about is how these learning sessions become far more powerful when the content is not what you would find in a textbook or on a website, or how-to videos on on YouTube and Vimeo, etc. Right? All this content out there. I mean, there's a lot for all of us to actually read and absorb out there, right? So my job is to not take you through all that. My job today is to actually help you get a larger sense of the topic at hand and orient you towards finding out more and more and coaching yourself more and more. Yeah. So think of me as someone who's going to orient you and mentor you as you think about user personas, in the space of insights. Yeah. So wherever it is in the world that you're joining in from, I welcome you all, and I'm going to get started. Yeah. So again, understanding buyer personas through insights. Buyer personas, right? I mean, like, what are we really going to cover? Joanna gave us a quick brief. We're gonna be talking through a lot of points and having a conversation around what user personas are, why they're relevant, how do people use them, how do you make them. So I'm going to be talking a lot about that. Yeah, so that's really, the in broad strokes, the kind of things that we're going to touch upon today. And of course, all of you will also help me do that. Yeah, nothing like a good conversation. Now, I think I want to, open up the session really by asking all of you certain questions. Okay, what do you believe a persona is? What is a persona? You can unmute yourself and tell me. Or you can put it in the chat box. Potential customer profile, Dario says. Very interesting. Okay, I like that. Okay, what else? You can unmute yourself or put it in the chat window, wherever. Yeah,
The ideal customer which a business has, basically.
the ideal customer a business has. Now that's very interesting. An ideal customer. Uh, a good point to think about. What is an ideal customer? How do you even define what ideal is, right? And to Dario's point, a potential customer profile. So the potentiality of a customer profile, what kind of behaviors, what kind of traits are actually ideal for your business to target. I see Anika saying behavior habits and characteristics of a person or a customer. That's excellent. That's excellent. Okay, we're getting. I like the quality of answers which are coming. Joanna, you're saying that it's a fictional representation of a group of people within the overall target audience. Okay, we're getting some context in there. That is excellent. So it's not just a standalone, but it's in a broader bucket of what a potential audience can be. Okay. Now, I like these answers, and we're going to keep building on these answers. I'm definitely, glad to say that all of this is true, and there's a lot more as well to this. Yeah, so there's some really interesting depth to each and every one of the points that you have made, and we're going to talk about that in a little more detail. Okay, I want you to take a look at this. Okay, spend a couple of minutes, unmute yourselves. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to hear you think. Please unmute yourselves. Look at my screen. Look at the three, personas which are there in front of you on the screen, and I want you to comment on them. I want you to talk about them. What do you think of them? Do you like them? Do you not like them? Is it all there? Is something missing? Tell me. Any thoughts? So, just to tell you, on the left, you've got a guy called Mark who's 22 years of age. He rents a 2-bedroom apartment. He's recently single. He rescued a puppy 4 months ago. He's an intern, yeah, and he's a bartender at a high-end cocktail
Can we
bar
go
on
through?
weekends.
The pain points are missing, I think, here.
Can we go through
Pain
the
points are missing.
symbols? The slide is a little not very big. I cannot understand very well the symbols. I understand the demographic is location, marital status, work and education,
Yeah.
and the others. The others looks
Yes.
like the first symbol on the left is a newspaper or something. There is a star. also a mobile,
Hello?
which reflects the mobile behavior, the thoughts, the buoy behavior, and the rest of the symbols are unknown to me.
Okay, Dario, I got your question. So let me tell you. Under behavioral identifiers, the first symbol on the left are hobbies. Okay. The second symbol on the left is essentially value. What do they like?
Ah, okay.
The third symbol on the left is the type of mobile phone the person owns. The fourth symbol on the left are personal goals. And on the right, the thoughts, and then there's shopping, and below that is the picture of a globe, yeah, but that's really
Mhm.
about travel, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And the one below that is actually a heartbeat line, so that talks about health.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Carry on.
No problem. Okay. What are your thoughts? So, Shakun, I think you were saying that it is missing something, right?
The pain points, the customer pain points, I can't see.
You can't see the customer pain points. That's interesting. Okay. Okay. When you say pain points around what?
The basically the areas which the customer is like, he wants, suppose there is a business and they want some product of yours. So once that the need of that product itself is there, because that customer is not having that particular thing in his system. So that is called basically the pain point. Maybe I'm not able to explain well,
No, no,
but
no,
like,
no. Your explanation is perfectly clear. I get it. I get it.
yeah,
I
yeah.
understand. Okay.
Hmm.
All right.
So
Any
maybe those things are missing. I mean, I could just zoom in and see whatever is mentioned. From that, I could make out that the pain points is not there.
understood. Okay. Okay. Anybody else in
Um,
the audience?
I think
Anybody
the
else?
pain point. I think the pain point is visible in the first one, Mark, where it says that even though he works out, he is on a bad diet because he's on a budget. So he eats a lot of bad food, and in the last one, yeah, and then he drinks often. So, for example, if a business comes out with a uh, budget-friendly, healthy food items, I think that Mark would be a good customer for them
Yeah,
because
might
he's on a
be. Yes,
budget.
yes, yes.
And the second one, it says that Justin makes a lot of returns. Um, yeah, makes multiple returns. So I think if there was a way where he could be assured about his purchases, or he could be satisfied by a business, or a business could find new ways to satisfy him as a customer, that could build a brand loyalty and customer loyalty in the long run.
Very interesting. Okay, okay, all right. So you have pinpointed certain pain points which you felt are, clearly mentioned. Okay, got it. I can see Dario raised his hand in the middle. Did you raise your hand?
Yeah, yeah. Regarding the pain point, something that we are going through reading these customer profiles is not something that is visible right now. Is visible after we analyze the customer profile. So it's something that we have to find out with that information.
I like what you're saying. I really like what you're saying, and I will tell you in just a moment. Anybody else who wants to contribute before I move on to the next piece? Okay. Anyone? Any thoughts? Okay. So here it is. Dario, I think there's something in what you said which kind of struck a chord with what I'm about to say, and and everything that you spoke about, Shakun, Anika, very pertinent as well. You spoke about pain points. You spoke about how you can actually use those to address a business objective or do something different with your marketing and so on, right? But if you just go back to these profiles, there's something massive missing for me. Yeah. You have behavioral identifiers. So I know what the person does. Yeah. I see demographics. So I know, at least I get a sense of how old this person is, what this person owns, what this person has studied, whether this person is married or not, how much he or she earns, where they stay. Very important stuff, mind you. But there's something which is really missing for me, at least. Yeah. Who are these people really? I just know how much they earn, who they are married to, and how they engage with a particular category. I know the things that they do, but I do not know why they do the things that they do. And that is an absolutely critical part, because I want you to take a look at this. All right. I'm sure you recognize the two people on this slide. You've got Prince Charles and you've got Ozzy Osbourne. If you're not familiar with Ozzy Osbourne, he's a manic rock star, yeah, who's quite infamous for the life that he leads, yeah. And Prince Charles, well, is Prince Charles the son of the Queen of England? Maybe he will become king someday, or maybe he won't. But we all know that both these people are male, born in 1948, raised in the United Kingdom, married twice, live in a castle, and they're very wealthy and famous. So you see, the points on the right are all demographic, or you could take one or two of them as behavioral. Maybe Prince Charles really likes shopping online, and as does Ozzy Osbourne. Yeah, maybe Prince Charles likes returning his products, but even Ozzy Osbourne likes returning his products. But are they the same people? Are they the same customers? They're not. They are very, very different people. And that is exactly the points that I'm trying to make. And that is what is really going to be the broader focus of my presentation today to all of you. That buyer personas have to go beyond demographics and behavior. And we're going to talk about how they go beyond demographics and behavior. Yeah? Because people are like icebergs. Yeah? People are like icebergs. When you get demographic information or you get behavioral information, you see only a part of who these people are. It's a very small part. It's a very important part, but it's a very small part. You have to dig deeper. You have to know these people. Why do they behave the way they do? Why did that person earlier, Justin, right? Why is Justin constantly returning those products? Is it because he is actually unhappy with the products that he is getting? Or maybe he is a person who's shopping online on the wrong kind of website, which is not really who he really is. He's not really getting the kind of brands that he actually likes. The brands that he actually likes, or the products he actually likes, maybe they're really expensive and he's chosen a cheap option. And with his cheap option, 8 times out of 10, he gets something that he actually doesn't like, and then he keeps returning it and returning it and returning it. Maybe it's a hypothesis, right? If we knew something about Justin, if we understood Justin better, we could actually design a product or design an application or design a service which is a little more in tune or in sync with who these people are. Yeah. And therefore, as a business, you can be far more sharp in targeting. Yeah. Now, you may ask me the question, and maybe you have this question at the back of your minds. Um, does it mean that, okay, I need numbers, I need quantitative verification, right? So age and earnings and location, and these are things which are very quantifiable. How do you quantify the why? There are ways to quantify the why. Yeah. And maybe on another session, I can tell you about the depths of qualitative and quantitative research. But take my word for it for now, that there are ways you can actually quantify human emotions, human feelings, human needs and motivations. Yeah. And in fact, attitudes. I want to, talk about this as a simple. So I've essentially picked up a lot of interesting profiles that I found on the internet while making this presentation. Yeah, and I wanted to, put forward a range of different kinds of personas. Take a look at this persona. If you had to break it down into different parts, yeah, there is I'm literally talking about this slide here. Yeah, there's a picture of this person. They could have chosen any other picture of a person with a dog, but they chose this picture of a person with the dog. They chose this picture to show how this person wears his hair, or the way he wears his shirt, how he's holding his pet, and the overall feel of this picture. It could have been any other type of, Caucasian male man with a dog. It could have been a different dog. But this picture is giving you a feeling and is making you think about this guy. I don't know about you, but when I see this man, I think of a person who, maybe, I don't know, I'm a little biased here because obviously I'm looking at the persona on the right, but I want you to think about what this person could be. Again, in my mind, if I were to see this picture without looking at the right side of the, of the sheet, I would think that this person lives in a city like Paris. Yeah, is maybe like an art designer kind of a person. Likes to take his dog out for walks in the suburban, forests, outside Paris. And, he looks like, he's kind of fashionable in his own way, maybe. But you see what I just did there? Here I am, I'm just looking at a picture and thinking of who this person really is, okay? But look at what's on the right. Clearly, you need far more information to actually understand who these people are. A picture is a good start, but you need more information. Who is this person? He's a graduate student at the University College of LA who cares deeply about animal rights. Okay, there we are. So now we are getting somewhere. So is that why he's holding his pet close? I'm not too sure about that. The dog, honestly, to me, looks very unhappy. But anyway, is that what they were trying to show? That he's holding a dog and that's why he cares? Yeah. He spares his own time to volunteer at the local animal shelter and to promote pet adoption. He wishes to order some design artifacts to raise awareness at his school. When I read that statement, I wonder, I'm sorry, I don't understand. What do you mean? Yeah? What is he studying? Is he a design student? No, he's not a design student. But he wants to promote pet adoption, and that's why he wants design artifacts. Okay. Is there a simpler way to write this? He wants publishing or marketing material. He's looking for posters. You can always take a persona and make it a little simple and make it a little more relatable. It doesn't have to necessarily complicate matters. Okay? He's a PhD student. He's a really learned man. But like all academics and PhD students, he doesn't earn as much as he should be to, if he's living in the US, right? What are his needs? His need is to create designs that promote animal adoption, order design artifacts such as posters, buttons, badges, or whatever, and he wants help with crowdfunding. Now, this is interesting because, the needs are not broad. They're very specific, which is a good thing because you need to be able to focus. But what are his frustrations? His frustrations, if you see them, if you read them, they're also linked to the category that we are talking about, right? Design artifacts and pet adoption. Some vendors charge way too much. Connecting with local vendors require extra time. If he ends up not getting the funds, he has to put in his own money, right? And there is something around his social media activity, so you kind of know where to target him. And they've also spoken about his current feelings, which honestly to me are a little confusing, but it gives you a sense that he's stressed and he's concerned and he's busy. Maybe spending a lot of time at these animal shelters, right? But he's also a very passionate, motivational, giving, loving, and optimistic person. So that's nice. We're getting some flavor. We're getting a sense of the emotions that drive this person. Okay. Now, maybe, now this is my analysis, and please keep putting in your comments in the chat box as well. When I read this, when I look at the needs, okay, and I see the frustrations, I see some very interesting points, but they're all very rational in nature. There are needs around a product, which is important. I get it. There are frustrations with a product, which is again very important. But is there something more? Is there another layer that I can peel off? Right? What is his need? I'm asking the question, why is this person so obsessed with pet adoption? When he successfully manages to convince someone to adopt an animal, how does he feel? Yeah? On a day when he just doesn't manage to convince anybody, or he meets somebody who doesn't like pets, and maybe he meets someone who only wants to buy a new dog and does not adopt. Does he feel demotivated? What does he feel? Does he feel angry with people? Right? Now, why is this important for you as a business owner to know? Or as a seller of a product or a service to him? Why is it important for you to know? It's important at so many levels. Maybe your brand, the way your brand is positioned, can be actually for people who care, for people who are compassionate, for people who go the extra mile in helping society out. Yeah? Maybe your customer service, maybe your app, the way, he can chat with customer service while trying to buy these things. Maybe the vendors are empathetic. They understand that he's not doing this for profit. He's not trying to, he's not spending money to make more money. No, he's doing something out of the goodwill of his heart. So you, as someone who's selling things to him, how do you become his preferred vendor? Do you argue with him for more money on each of these designs, or do you establish a relationship with them? What is the basis of that relationship? You see why, personas need to go far beyond just demographics and just behaviors. One look at this sheet should ideally tell you why this person has these needs, why this person has these frustrations. Tomorrow, when as part of your school projects or as professionals in a company, when you are going to be constructing user personas, you need to ask yourselves whether this persona is really useful to me or not. You need to ask yourself whether you are able to understand this person deeply or not. Okay? Is everybody with me? I can see cameras going off. They've all gone off. At least give me a thumbs up if you think it's on okay. Okay, we have a question. Al-Azhar, please go ahead. Okay, All right, that was a signal to me that all is okay. I think that wasn't a question. But please keep asking me your questions whenever you want to, yeah? So, this is the textbook definition, right? A persona is a fictional representation of your ideal client or target audience, right? Somebody in the audience had spoken about an ideal client or target audience. Very right. Now, why is that important? With a clear picture of who you're marketing to. Yeah, you can only say who when you know the why. It's much easier to develop effective, targeted content that speaks to your ideal buyers' goals and challenges. Goals and challenges, yes, but again, why? Yeah, you have to keep asking yourself that question, right? Now, here's some data, yeah, to actually tell you how important it is when you create good personas, meaningful personas, yeah, um, which are actually used to propel or to really power up your marketing. Yeah. So for SEMrush, 100% increase in page views per visit, a 900% increase in site visit duration, massive spark in marketing ROI. Yeah. And look at the other ones as well. Higher quality leads, increased website lead generation, exceeded sales and revenue goals. Look at the evidence out there. Yeah, this is just one piece. There's so much of evidence across the world with so many different brands. The evidence is out there. You make a good, meaningful, understandable persona that your organization actually understands, then you can actually create a product or service that is meaningful and that satisfies somebody's needs and goals. Yeah. Because if you develop products and services without keeping anybody in mind, that's a vanity project. Then you're just doing it for yourself. Then you're creating something just because you can create it. But you create things because you want to create it for something. It has to have a goal. It has to have a meaning. And in the world of marketing, one of the most powerful tools that you can actually build is personas to identify your target audience. Now, this is interesting. Anika, you're saying, how do we access this information? I think Joanna was mentioning she can send across this deck later. And Dario, you're saying that you wonder if building a buyer persona is like to create a story with the data provided. Absolutely, it is a story. We are all stories. Marketing is about telling a good story around your product, and a persona is the good story around your target audience. Yeah, and if you don't, stories stick. Yeah, we all remember stories. If you knew a story about a person, a complete and precise story, you will remember it. And it's important for you to remember it as research and development in a company, as the marketer in a company, as the communications expert in the company, whoever you are in a business. You need to know who you're selling for. You need to know what you're making this person. What is it for that you're making your product or you're running your service or whatever. Yeah. So absolutely, these are stories. Yeah. And we also live in an age where storytelling is being increasingly recognized as a powerful marketing tool. So absolutely. But stories are hundreds and thousands of years old. Yeah. And that is testimony to the fact that they stick. Now, I want to break it down a little. I want to break down that textbook statement to help us actually, in our minds, create a framework of what a buyer persona needs to be all about. So when you're building a buyer persona, what are the things that you actually need to keep in mind, right? So picture, yeah. So that's a story right there. Who your person is, so that you're effective and you're targeted, and in a manner that actually speaks to your ideal buyer's goals and challenges. See, this word is very important. You can say something like targeted content that is for or addresses your ideal buyer's goals and challenges. But The person who wrote this definition very mindfully said speaks to. Dario, that's to your point. Stories speak. Yeah. And if you know your customer stories very well, it will speak to, I mean, and, and if it speaks to you, you're in a better position to create something amazing for your customer. So, how do you break it down? You need to know what their attitudes are. Okay? You need to know what their life attitudes are, and need to know what their attitude is to the category in question. I'll give you an example of an attitude. Very simply, okay? For some people, a smartphone, like a simple smartphone, is essentially a way to communicate, to be in touch. It's a tool which enables them to do a lot of other things. Okay, and that is that person's attitude to technology and smartphones. I mean, when he or she goes and buys a phone, they look for features, they look for usability, they look for durability, they look for something practical, something which is very up to date but practical and reasonably priced. Okay, they don't want to spend too much. But for another person, this smartphone may be a way for him or her to express her taste. You know, a nice, big, expensive phone with some gold trimmings on the side. You know, you've spent half your salary on it, and it's your pride. You have a beautiful, nice iPhone 43 or 45 or whatever. It's an amazing phone, and you love showing it to your friends. Your friends are amazed at the fact that you have this. You waited in line and you bought it. Think about it. They're very different people with very different attitudes to technology. Yeah? And it's about attitudes. Yeah? Maybe demographically the people could be very similar to each other, but it's the way they approach a category. Motivations, which is very closely linked to attitudes. Why do they behave with the category in the way that they actually do? What are their fears? Okay, again, the fears at a life level as well as at a category level. So let me take the example of the second person I spoke about. At a life level, I am afraid of getting lost in the crowd. I want to stand out. Yeah, I want people to know me. Yeah, and the fear is that I don't want to get lost in a crowd. And I want a phone which I can show off to people so I don't get lost in the crowd. So you see the link? Fears and anxieties. Again, anxieties are very close to fears, but anxieties are far more deep-rooted. Yeah. Aspirations. How do I see myself? Do I see myself as a rich and moneyed person, or do I see myself as a person who is really chilled out? Yeah. What do I want? What are the brands I want? What are the things I want? Who do I want to be in life? Very important for us to understand all that and then link it to our category. Of course, all this is very important alongside behavioral data, the first persona that we saw together, as well as the demographics. Yeah. So this is really the construct of a good persona. Now, this is interesting, and I don't know how we're doing on time. It's already 7. We're already getting on. So maybe we won't do it as an exercise, but I want you to think of certain things. See this persona, okay? And this is for the coffee category. They have described this person. You've given the name of the person, the age and status, the profile, some descriptions in terms of what she does and how she is, what her life is like. There are motivations in their category linked, motivations, goals, frustrations, and favorite coffee beans as well. But I have a few additions and even challenges to this persona. Mind you, it's a good persona. Somebody's put in a lot of hard work in making this persona. I don't know who. I mean, I just picked it off the internet, but somebody's put in a lot of hard work. But how do we build on this? Yeah, I wonder, and it's something for all of us to think about. What do I when I see a persona? What do I gain out of seeing? Sorry, what do I gain out of seeing this name here? Janelle Robinson. I mean, fine, but what do I gain out of that name? Does it tell me who she is, where she's from, whether she's a male or a female? Yeah, it does, but I can represent that information elsewhere. I can say that this person is a female, this person is an American, this person is an African American, and this person, stays in XYZ place, etc., etc. I can say all that. So why do I need to put in Janelle Robinson? Maybe I can scratch out Janelle Robinson and find a better description of this persona, because we are not talking about specific people. We are talking about persona. This persona can be found in so many different people. We are not talking only about a person called Janelle Robinson. Maybe Dario, Tina, Anika, and myself are actually very similar personas when it comes to coffee. Yeah. Maybe Yasmin and Joanna are actually very similar people between the both of them. You see what I mean? So the persona is something which actually binds it together at a deeper level. Okay. The other thing that I want you to think about is, I mean, if you take that phrase, can you call it something else? Like, can you call the persona the artisan curator? I mean, I just made this up. Okay. The artisan curator tells me something about how this persona is when it comes to coffee, as well as life. This person likes exotic coffee beans. Look at it. Ethiopian Yirgacheffe coffee. I don't even know whether I'm pronouncing that right. Sumatran Mandheling coffee and Ethiopian Charbanta natural. I don't know. These sound very exotic to me. Maybe they are, right? But it shows that this person cares. This person is discerning. This person is very artistic in her choice making of coffee. Yeah. So when I say the artisan curator, if I'm a coffee company, I know which specific products I want to sell to this kind of a persona. And then I will quantitatively size this persona and see if it is a big part of my target market, of course. But you see what I mean? If you have a phrase like that, it's far more powerful. Yeah, it's easy to remember and conveys the essence. How else can we, improve this persona? Can we speak about the coffee occasions? Maybe different occasions of the day when she's drinking coffee. Each occasion has a different meaning. Maybe it is happening in a different context. Coffee at home is very different from coffee outside with friends. And consumption context. Who am I having it with? Am I having it alone or am I having it with other people? Who are these people? Frequency of consumption. Very hard quantitative data, behavioral data. Frequency of consumption. How often do I actually drink coffee? And for the business, the question is, what is her size of wallet? What is the share of her wallet and of her coffee spends that I want? Yeah. Average spend per cup. If I'm buying coffee outside or I'm making coffee at home, how much am I actually spending? What is the dollar value of each cup of coffee that I buy? And of course, the larger sizes, size of the persona, the quantitative sizing of this persona. How big is this persona? Am I talking about 2 million, 3 million people in a specific country? Am I talking 50,000 people in a particular city? What is it? Yeah. And also, what is the dollar value of this market, of this persona? Yeah. If I target this persona, how much of revenue will I possibly make next year? Right? Very interesting points that you can add. And I'm sure I'm missing a few. I'd love to hear your thoughts. If you think that there's something missing, it'd be great if we can share it within the group. Anybody? Okay, so we've got Dario and Alazar who have raised their hands. Dario, if you want to go.
I have a question regarding how much important is the data and how much important is the story created with the data. I mean, how much far you can go to create a story with the data provided by the customer. I mean, are you suggesting yourself? Are you subjective? Can you be objective or subjective, creating a story from the data?
That's a fantastic question. And to be very honest, I love this question. So there are many parts of your question, and I'm going to try and unpack that, step by step. Okay. Number one. So the story, does it come only from the quantitative data? The answer is no. The story also comes from data which is anecdotal in nature. Okay. So if I do a qualitative study, so if I go and interview and speak with around 40 or 50 customers in a particular city, yeah, and I have very focused questions in which I ask them about how they feel about coffee, or how they behave with coffee, what are their favorite brands, why do they like their brands, what does the coffee drinking moment or occasion mean to them, and so on. That is where the story comes from. It is never subjective. We have a saying in the research and marketing industry: lies, and statistics. Okay, so you can take numbers and you can create anything out of them. I say that you take numbers, you speak with people, you understand people for who they actually are, then put it together to make your story. Your story doesn't come from just looking at the numbers and assuming that this person is like this or he does like that. No. Your story is coming from the quantitative data. How many times he's having coffee, how much is he spending on coffee, what are how many different brands does this person use, and so on and so forth. But you will also understand why this person goes after a particular brand. You'll also understand why this person has 8 cups of coffee a day and not 2. It will lend context. I would urge, and this is my humble pushback, I would urge you not to think in terms of subjective versus objective. This is all objective. It's just different kinds of data. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it did.
Anybody else? Any questions or anything that we can add to this persona? Anything that we might have missed out collectively? Anybody? I leave you to think about this question for just a moment. I know we have 10 minutes. Just a second. Okay, no thoughts as such at this point, which is fine. I hope we're thinking about things. Okay, Anika has a question. It is highly focused on her campus life, but does she socialize while having coffee? There you go. Excellent. I mean, is this person's life completely restricted to the campus? I mean, I hope not. Yeah, I hope she goes out. I hope she's going out to other places. I hope because she's not going to be on campus forever. Tomorrow she will move out of campus and she'll be having a coffee somewhere else. I don't know. Or maybe she's having coffee in the privacy of her own apartment on campus. Maybe it's that. So, great. So, let's go beyond just her campus life. And here's an interesting thought. Okay. And I'm glad you asked this question, because what if this person is the sort of person who spends pretty much most of her time on campus because she's really focused, she's really dedicated, and maybe she spends like 5% of her coffee drinking occasions are outside. So, as a business owner, that doesn't mean anything to you. That's not what you have to go after. You have to go after her when she's on campus. But to your point, Anika, if you find a different persona, a sizable persona, which also drinks coffee outside, then you know that that persona cannot be limited by only that location, since we're talking about a location or the place that she stays. Yeah. Similarly, if you take a corporate person who's really busy and keeps traveling all the time, maybe a lot of this of his or her coffee drinking occasions are on the move, when at airports, on board flights, at client meetings, or in hotels. Okay, not necessarily in the place that he or she city that he or she stays. How do you target a persona like that? Anika, there's another point you've said. Is she well traveled and derives her taste preferences from other places? Very interesting, because we did speak about potentially exotic brands of coffee. Where does that influence come from? It could be travel, it could be the kind of media content she watches. Yeah. I know a lot of people who derived their perceptions of coffee, or they got into coffee. I'm not even joking. After watching that really famous show Friends on TV, yeah, bunch of friends sitting and having their coffee at Central Park Cafe. And I'm not even joking. Their feeling of what a coffee house should be like comes from there. So to your point, where do her perceptions of coffee come from? So that's a very important thing that you can include. Anything else?
I just wanted to add that I read once in an article that Starbucks, even though it's really popular in many parts of the world, it actually failed in Germany because the people in Germany thought that it was overpriced and it was not as good in quality as for the local coffee that is sold in Germany.
And I would go so far as to say that that perception is definitely not limited to Germany alone. I'll go out on a limb here and say it myself. That's painfully expensive coffee, for coffee which is not exactly the best. I hail from India, and I can definitely say that the coffee in the South Indian hills of Coorg in Karnataka are far better than any coffee that I've tasted ever on Starbucks. And which is really about that question that you just said, is branding is good though? Yes, absolutely. That's what branding can do. That is exactly what branding can do. And smart targeting through knowing your customer. Okay. Now we've got 5 minutes, and I'm happy we've had these interesting conversations. So I'm going to skip this part about, I'm not going to skip it. I'm going to briefly coast over it really. But how do you take a persona ahead, right? You take a user persona, and we've discussed how we can construct it. You can use your knowledge of this coffee drinker and create journey maps, or maps of how this person, detailed breakdowns of how this person actually goes about making a choice for example, a cup of coffee, buying it, and ultimately consuming it and feeling it, all with the knowledge of the persona that you have built up. Yeah. We are short on time, but if you have to think very cleanly about buyer personas and the kind of questions that you need to ask, kind of building on all the points that we've spoken about, this chart here is a really cool cheat sheet that you can use to kind of pick up on. But let me tell you one thing: as a researcher working on in the marketing space, I can tell you that you'll take a look at this persona, let it inspire you, and not define how you construct personas. Let it inspire you to think even beyond what is out there. Every time you look at persona, think in terms of what you don't know yet. That's how you arrive at a good persona. Yeah. And that's how you also arrive at this incredibly complicated chart, which I will not take you through, but that's a journey map. Yeah. Knowing what you do about, the persona, you can break it down into stages in terms of how they buy a product or a service and know what's happening at each stage so that you can craft your customer, your service or your product better and intervene better. But you will not be able to do any of this if you don't have a powerful persona. That's the bigger point I wanted to make. Journey maps are another session altogether. Yeah. So a couple of really cool examples from brands that we know. Those of you who are into your music on Spotify, or those of you who relish your OTT content on Netflix or on Amazon Prime, do access these two slides from the deck that Joanna has will share with you. Think of them. Imagine yourself in these people's shoes, and you will understand exactly what is missing in these personas. Yeah. And exactly what you can actually add to these personas. So over and above the cheat sheets, those are the two tricks. When you see a cheat sheet, think about how you can cheat the cheat sheet. What can you add to it? And when you see a persona like this, put yourself in this person's shoes. And these are categories most of us are familiar with. If you're a music listener, whether you're Spotify or an Apple Music or Savan or Angami, whatever you're into, what else can you possibly know about me so that you understand my tastes better? Then you will know what to do to add to this. Yeah. So that's kind of what I have for you with like literally a minute left. Happy to take in a couple of questions. I have a hard stop at 7:30, but I thought it'd be nice to address questions along the way. So if you have any further questions, you can drop them here, or you can reach out to me directly as well. That's fine through Qureos and Joanna. I'd be happy to help.
Let me just start with a question. So when a company kind of starts and they don't have a lot of customer data, they're just launching, how much of the personas can be assumptions, or what percentage of a persona can be assumed?
So okay, I love your question, and at the same time, the word assume scares me. Okay, my dad used to tell me that when you assume, you essentially make an ass of you and me. You know that one. I'm sure you've heard it from your dad too. But that's a scary one, but it's a very good question because sometimes you just don't know, right? As a researcher and as a brand and marketing strategist, I will tell you that, listen, get a feeler of what people feel about your product or service. Talk to people. You will understand what, you'll get a sense of what's going on out there in the market. Yeah. If you're a bigger company and you have deeper pockets, well, that's when you get somebody like me on board and commission a project with me. And, we'll try and give you some answers at least. But you have to start somewhere. Yeah. A lot of people make the cardinal sin of actually, starting off, with a product. It might be a great product which nobody uses, right? And there are many, many examples of things like that. So you have to start with research, start understanding your people, personas, what your product actually could mean, the role that it plays, and then go from there. Anything else? I see the point, Tina, that you made about the dollar angle. Absolutely. Very, very important. Extremely important. I mean, without that, I will go out on a limb and mention what Dario said. It becomes very subjective. So you have to put a dollar value to it.
All right, guys, any last questions?
Okay, I just wanted to ask a question regarding research. For someone who hasn't been involved in research or is just starting out, what tools or platforms can be used to derive data to develop a persona of a customer, other than, like, for example, if we are living in an environment where we can't really do surveys and stuff, what can we use to gather all that information?
So that's a great question. If you don't have, you're starting out, or if you're a student, there are a whole lot of different data sources that you can access freely. Yeah, there's a fair amount of material out there, through Google Trends and platforms such as that. Facebook also has data available, freely available data as well, that they do provide. You can actually go through customer reviews of a certain product or category and see the kind of things that people are saying, and try and understand what are their biggest pain points, and what are their biggest needs and why. That would, I think, be a fantastic start. Another way of doing it would be going through social media, right? I mean, search a hashtag, for example. If you're going with coffee, and artisanal coffee, like premium coffee, um, can you literally search for, I don't know, hashtag Ethiopian coffee, like fantastic. See what people post out there, right? What are they posting in? Is it all about the arty coffee? Is it about the smells? Is it about the taste? Or is it about, oh my God, look at me, I've got this amazing coffee and I'm having it with my friends, so it's a social thing. There's obviously a difference, as you can imagine. So this is also something that you can do as a student. Can you please excuse me? I know these are COVID times. My doorbell just rang. Can you literally give me a minute? Is that okay? Okay, perfect. Hold on.
And this is also a chance for you to ask any other questions. So maybe you can think about your questions or drop it in the chat, and then we can cover all of them, not to waste any more time.
Okay, guys. So I'm not gonna turn on my
Hey, Arindam, you're breaking up.
camera at this point of time because I need to attend to something. But I'll keep my microphone on. Yeah, and just for the sake of being able to move around the house a bit while I speak to you guys, I'll just take off my. See. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Hello, can you hear me now? Okay, no, I was saying that you'll have to excuse me because I haven't switched on my camera for the last couple of minutes. I need to attend to something while I speak. I know we're a little ahead of time as well. Okay, so any other questions that I can take before we sign off? But of course, like I said, I'm completely available through Joanna as well, to answer any further questions that we may have. I see one. I think it's Alazar. Can you give me a real life example for an e-commerce site? Okay, so I can definitely give you many examples, and believe me, you can look up a whole lot of examples as well yourself. Online, you'll see a lot out there. But to unpack your question, I think it's for e-commerce. There are a few things which are very important. Yeah, you have to understand the behavioral data very closely, right? So what people buy, when they buy, how they buy. You have to get a sense of their user experience and user interface issues as well. Yeah, but very importantly, the other thing that you need to understand is their attitude to shopping. You need to understand why certain products are bought online versus certain products are bought offline. Those kind of dynamics are what you need to understand to truly understand the persona, because you don't want to just land up with a persona which says persona X buys 5 products a month from Amazon, and persona Y buys 4 products a month from eBay or whatever, right? You want to understand why they prefer an Amazon over an eBay, and that will stem from what Amazon actually offers, which is linked to who they are as people, because maybe they trust the Amazon brand, and you want to understand why they trust the Amazon brand. You also want to understand why that trust is important to have in an e-commerce website. You see what I mean? So e-commerce personas are typically very behaviorally heavy, but you have to kind of dig into the attitudinal part of it as well. I hope that answers your question. And of course, there's a lot out there. Yeah, there's a lot out there in terms of material, in terms of examples. If you ever want to discuss any of them, of course, I'm always happy to chat.
I think we should stop the questions at this point, or it might extend further. So let's just wrap it up. Arindam, thank you so much for being here, for taking us through all of these new concepts, especially for some of us, this might be the very first time that we've heard about buyer personas and the different aspects to it. So really, thank you so much from Qureos, from my side, and we'd really love to have you come back and do another session very soon. Thank you.
Absolutely. Most welcome. Always happy to be here, and always happy to hear from everybody else as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much to each one of you who's been a part of this session as well. I will be sharing the recording with you guys.